of Diet Culture Can Fork Off with me, Becky. And who am I? I am an online health and fitness coach. If you don't know already, I help women who are done with the diets, done with the cycles, done with starting again every Monday, done with diet culture, running the show. And women that finally want to sort out their relationship with food and their body, get rid of that inner critic for good. And that's all through like my holistic coaching. So working on the mind and the body and the foodstuffs as well, to get to the place that, you know, get to the real stuff underneath, because that's actually what is going to break it. So I work with people or women in my one-to-one empower coaching and through my Misfit Club group coaching as well, which is my 6-week group program, which has just started. If you are quick, you can jump on this round. If not, sign up for the wait list. Anyway, food noise. You know that voice. Yeah, that consistent, never-ending commentary in your head, all about food, like all the time. When you're thinking about food, like every single waking moment, like it's doing the mental maths, the calculating, the obsession, the working out. If I eat this now, can I have that later? Like it's constant noise, or thinking about the thing that you want to eat and you know it's in the cupboard and you're like, but I shouldn't eat it and I really want it and I can't stop thinking about it. Like, here's the thing, like it's not a character flaw at all. Like it's not an issue like with you. It's not you being weak or lacking discipline or not enough motivation or being obsessed with food because you fucked up. It's just a symptom. It's a symptom of something that's being done to you or being done to you. And I want to talk about that today because I've had it. I have been there with the food noise constantly in my head, and it did take so much from me. Energy, being present in the moment when I'm like out and about with friends. And I've also worked with so many clients who are trapped in it too. So let's break down that food noise. Let's talk about what it actually is, what's driving it, and most importantly, how to get it to quieten the fuck down as well. So, food noise. What is food noise? I mean, it is relentless, isn't it? Like that mental preoccupation with food. It's a voice that just will not shut up. It's like thinking about your next meal before you've even finished the current one, trying to work out like, okay, now I've eaten this, what can I have later? Calculating all the calories, the macros, the points or whatever system that you're using. Constantly thinking about it, like doing mental arithmetics, like daily, all the time. Worrying as well. Am I eating too much? Is this allowed? Am I meant to be having this? Is this good food? Is this bad food? The constant checking in as well with yourself. I've just kind of talked about that. Like the constant checking in with yourself as well. Like how does it make me feel? That's what I was going to say. What's the damage? Do I have to burn this off later? Now I'm going to have to go to the gym, or now I'm going to have to skip a meal. It's being unable to be present because your brain is hijacked by the food thoughts. And it's exhausting. It's relentless. And most of the women I speak to, they have it really fucking loud. And I want to talk about like what the research shows behind this as well, because there is research behind it. And I don't feel like it's talked about enough. So here are a couple of studies that I've pulled out from PubMed, ones that I've cited before when I'm talking about food noise or talking about like why we can't stop bites. These are the things I look at. I'm always in PubMed, seeing to make sure things are backed up by what I'm saying. So here's what the science actually says, okay? Because I want you to know, like I said, this is not just my opinion, and this is why I do always look at the research and why I say, oh, the research talks about this. So there was research done by Jones and Rogers. Not me, Jones. If you didn't know, that's my surname. They found something really interesting. Anyway, when people are dieting, when they're in restriction mode and then they eat food they perceive as diet threatening, their brain doesn't just think about food a bit more. No, it doesn't think of it in that way. It just gets hijacked. they experience a significant increase in food and dieting related thoughts. And here's what I find really interesting is the preoccupation is so loud, it actually impairs their ability to do other cognitive tasks, like your whole mental system gets taken up by the noise. And that's why you struggle like to focus, or maybe you feel tired all the time, maybe you feel exhausted, because this literally is taking mental brain capacity from you. Then there's Timmerman and Greg's research on perceived deprivation and food preoccupation. And what they found is you don't have to be actually starving to have deafening food noise. You just have to be in diet mode. So the psychological experience of restriction, the belief that you're not allowed to eat freely, that's enough to trigger the obsession. So your brain doesn't care if you're eating 1,200 calories or 2,000 calories. If you're in that restriction mindset, the noise is loud. So it's not about the calories, it's not about the willpower, it's about what dieting does to your brain when you're in that I'm on a diet mindset, okay? That is why the food noise is deafeningly loud. So I've had so many clients come to me with food noise that's, taking up so much of their life, taking so much from them. So I'm going to paint you a bit of a picture, like with what's been happening with what's happening with a lot of my clients before they started working with me. Like, for example, being out in a restaurant, like, it should be nice, right? Like, you're with your loved ones, you're enjoying good food, it's things that you don't get very often, it's an enjoyable experience, right? They should be enjoying your meal, enjoying the company, but instead you're doing mental arithmetic, calculating, worrying. Am I eating too much? Is this okay? What's going to happen if I eat this? And here's what's wild. It's not just about the food, it's affecting your whole life. You're sitting across from someone that you love. It's like a partner, a friend, family. And then, they're not even really there because you're in your head. You're doing the maths. You're thinking about the food, worrying, overthinking. You're not present. And that, you're losing that connection. You feel trapped from all the food noise. And that's when the cycle really kicks in, because you've been so restricted, so controlled, so good all week, that the mental energy required to maintain that is massive. So the weekend hits and it's like pressing the fuck it button. Binge, eat all the foods that you've told yourself are off limits, and anything goes. So then Monday comes, back to restriction, back to control, undoing all the, I'm going to say in quotation marks, damage that the weekend did. And around we go. So the binge-restrict cycle, it's not random, okay? And I was in it, so I know as well. And a lot of my clients are or were as well. And it's a direct result of the restriction. But, and I mentioned before about giving yourself permission. Is that you tell yourself that certain foods are off limits, and then it creates that kind of mindset that can't get my words out today. It does create that scarcity mindset, which also goes into the dieting mindset. But here's what happens when you start working on this differently. When you're not going on another diet, when you're actually rebuilding the relationship with food. And I'm not going to bullshit you, it does take time, obviously. Think about how long you've been dieting for, or in this cycle, or having a poor relationship with food, or having a poor relationship with your body. We have to undo all that work. Those, what are they called? Neuropathways. There we go. Those neuropathways in your brain are strong, okay? The longer that you've been carrying this for, the longer that you've been telling yourself, being in this mindset, the stronger those neuropathways are in your brain. So, we're talking 4 or 5 months in that you'll be starting to undo the, not even starting, but you'll start to notice the differences, from this. But then one day, and this happens quite often, clients come to me and they're like, I don't feel like I'm on a diet anymore. I genuinely thought that was never possible. And that honestly makes me like celebrate so much, because I'm like, of course, like this is what we want to feel, this is what we want to get to. Because when you don't feel like you're on a diet anymore, you have a better relationship with food. It doesn't mean that you're going to be overeating and just anything in sight, or like a lot of people always come on my Instagram and be like, well, you support obesity. And I'm like, no, I actually support health, and health comes in all shapes and sizes. So what we need to do is get rid of that food noise, because when that quietens down and when you don't feel like you're on a diet anymore, you actually are present and enjoy life, and you can enjoy food. Like, who doesn't enjoy food? Like, it's delicious, especially pasta. You know, I like my pasta. and I do like these, like, I haven't had one for a while actually. I know I'm going off on one, but you know, there's like cookie pie things. Last time I got some was at Christmas, and they were delicious. Might have to, it's been 6 months now, might have to treat myself to another one. But anyway, so okay, let's dive into, I'm going off again, sorry about this, but like, this is such a big subject and I know so many women struggle with it. So what's actually driving this? What's making the food noise loud? Body obsession. Like constant checking in. How do I look? How do I feel? Criticism, judgment, the belief that your body is something to be controlled, something to be managed, something to be fixed. And you know that that's all been learned. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know I talk about where that comes from. Check out my the Invisible Tax podcast episode. Can't remember what number it is, but it's the Invisible Tax, and that's about body objectification, where we learn this body obsession. So do go and check that one out if you haven't done so already. The food obsession as well is another one that drives this food noise. Labeling food as good and bad, like a morale around eating, that obviously we internalize that. There's a belief that certain foods are off limits, like I just mentioned, that we shouldn't have this and we shouldn't have that. And that can come from years of diet culture as well, like carbs or potatoes and pasta. I'm not giving up pasta for anyone, but I used to think it was bad. Again, using that very much that terminology that comes from diet culture. You know, that we're only allowed these things on a special occasion or as a reward. Again, that ties into the emotional side. The dieting as well, that also feeds this food noise. The restriction mindset, the rules about when you can eat, what you can eat, how much you eat, and the belief that you need to earn your food or control it to be okay. And these three feed each other. The body obsession, the food obsession, the dieting. They're not separate. Body obsession fuels food obsession, which fuels dieting, which makes the body obsession worse. It's a whole loop. And the louder the food noise, the more of your mental energy is taken up by it. You're not present, you're not enjoying meals, you're not like connecting with your loved ones, and you're like not connecting with yourself in a way, because you feel dissociated from your body. Like you're trapped in the noise of diet culture. So what we're going to do here, okay? What we're going to do to reduce it. So here's what I work with with my clients. And this is the part that actually starts to shift things. So first of all, it's working on your relationship with food. So I always say, and if you're following me for a while, you know I say you can't out diet a poor relationship with food. So that is why we need to work on that relationship with food. Not restricting, not obsessively calorie counting, not having to weigh every single little morsel. No, we need to actually heal that relationship. So that means removing the morality of food. Like food isn't good, isn't bad, isn't clean, isn't dirty. It's just food, okay? We need to, once you remove those labels, understand that all food has its place, because it does. Food is more than fuel. We have an emotional attachment. We have a cultural attachment. We have a nostalgia towards it. And sometimes we do need to eat things for that emotional side or that connection side. Need is probably not the right word, but we like it brings us more joy. Like it is working on that emotional health, the mental health side of it as well. Like we can't view food as just food. It needs to be about connection and that what you value as well. It's about celebration. Like I know I get really annoyed when people don't not annoyed, but I get a bit like, we need to look at food as more than just food. It's so much more than that. And I don't see why that's an issue to mention or say, but and I do believe it's an important factor. Again, I have a very holistic approach to these things. So another thing I work with my clients is giving yourself unconditional permission to eat all foods. Okay. Now everyone's like, oh, no, but how am I going to control myself? I work very closely with my clients around this. But when you give yourself permission to eat, for example, I love a bit of chocolate. I do love a bit of chocolate most evenings. When I was stuck in my binge-restrict cycles, I told myself I wasn't allowed chocolate until the weekend. Okay? Probably know, you might be shaking heads like, oh yeah, that's me too. I used to say, I cannot have these foods, but I'm allowed them on the weekend because it's the weekend. It's the way, when you're like shutting off in the week, or that's when you're allowed those things because you're allowed to treat yourself after a shitty week or a stressful week on the weekend. What happened was because I was restricting myself, I would overeat those things on the weekend. Okay. And I would be eating probably way more than I would if I allowed myself just to eat it a little bit in the week. So that's why I give myself permission. I can eat any of these foods that I want, but I do check in with myself before. Do I actually want it? So most evenings I do have a bit of chocolate, but because I'm allowing myself to have it as and when I want, there's none of that restriction mindset. There's none of that scarcity, because I'll just have a bit and be like, oh, I'm happy now. And there's some evenings I'm like, oh, I'm actually quite full and I don't want it. And that's okay. But once you're giving yourself permission to have it, it just reduces that food noise. But obviously we do it in a very, depending on the client as well, because some people cannot have certain foods in their cupboards for a while, like the food noise is too loud around it, so we do it very slowly with certain things. It's like, yeah, it's not just like, oh, give yourself permission and that's it. There's other work that goes in behind it, but it is first of all about giving yourself that permission. Get curious as well with what your body actually wants, and not what diet culture says that you should want. I do believe that diet culture has made us switch off from our bodies and not listen to our bodies and actually stop being in tune with them. So being able to start pausing and listening. I mean, so many clients of mine, we had a discussion about it a few weeks ago, saying I really struggle to feel hunger and I really struggle to feel full. Now, this could be an issue with if you're neurodivergent as well, with the sensory issues. But also, if you've spent years in diet cycles, restricting, ignoring your hunger signals, it can start that your body just doesn't start. What am I trying to say? That your body stops picking up on those signals. So yes, you can start struggling to feel full, to feel hungry. And that can be from a result of diet culture, especially if you're someone that's been doing it for years and years. So I teach my clients how to start tuning into that as well and trusting yourself, because that's what it comes down to, is trusting your body again and trusting yourself again. So what I do is help my clients work on the relationship, their body relationship, because as I mentioned, can't out diet a poor relationship with your body either. So you can't restrict your way to peace with your body, punishing it into change. In fact, the restriction's just going to make it worse. So we work on the inner critic and where that comes from. And I know I've done a past podcast on this as well, called The Invisible Tax. So go and check that out if you're someone with that inner critic. So we work out where that comes from, and I've got do a few exercises and tools to help dismantle that inner critic. I love that exercise actually. I love watching how each client comes up with their own version of like what that inner critic looks like, who they are, and then working through it to start disassociating from it. So it's amazing. But also challenging the belief that your body is something to be controlled as well. So we need to start unpicking like what diet culture has taught you. Then work on the nervous system regulation, because that's calming the part of your brain that's in that constant alarm mode. And also, if you're not being able to regulate your emotions, that's when the emotional eating side comes in. Like if you're stress eating because you're sad, but also eating because you deserve it, or like loneliness can come into it, boredom. There's so much different things, so we need to like make sure we're understanding what's going on with your emotional regulation as well. And also listening to your body, like I just mentioned, instead of fighting it, because we have been taught to just switch off from the signals. We have been taught to ignore our body. We have been taught to not trust it anymore. So we need to build up that trust. And I always say to my clients, we need to build up the trust with yourself again, because at the moment you're not trusting yourself, and that's why you're like, I can't stop calorie counting, or I can't let go of this, is because you don't trust yourself. And diet culture broke that trust. So we're going to build it up again, because you deserve to trust yourself. Deserve to trust your body. She's beautiful. Look what your body's done for you. Like how she's carried you through life. So let's build that trust and that relationship up with her again, because she's got you, and she's going to be carrying you for quite some time still. So let's make sure we're getting on better terms with her. So I do this all very holistically as well, because that's really the key part of it. Because if I only teach you to have a better relationship with food, but your body image is still in the gutter, like guess what? Food noise is always going to stay loud. If I only work on calming your central nervous system, but you're still buying into the diet culture beliefs, then it's not going to stick. Like it's all connected, like the mind and body, the emotional side of it. It's why, like, as obviously I'm a trained personal trainer, it's why I coach the way I do. Because if you just focus on exercise, or if you or food, or just food and exercise, you will still be stuck in these cycles. Hands down. Okay. What has been missing is being able to do all three things at the same time, okay? Food, body, mindset. You need that mindset piece, and you need to do it together with the food and with the body. And that's why I built my coaching to be very holistic and in this manner, which probably isn't the same as a lot of programs out there. I know a lot of people say they do mindset coaching, but I mean, I dive in deep. It's not just like, here's some positive affirmations. It's like, I'm going to challenge you, and I'm going to like help you break these barriers and break these glass ceilings that are holding you back right now. Because when you stop feeling like you're on a diet, like that food noise drops. Like it really has this knock-on effect, because you're not fighting yourself anymore. You're not in this constant restriction and deprivation mode. Your brain can finally relax. I always describe it as like the clouds start to part and the sun starts to shine, and you're like, everything just seems so much clearer. I've got so much more brain capacity. And there's research behind that as well. I think I mentioned a bit of it in the research above. But above this episode, is that right? Earlier? That's the right word I was looking for. The research earlier, that it is shown to take up so much brain or cognitive function from you. And when you don't have that means you're stealing cognitive function from doing other things. And that's what we need. We need your brains. We need powerful women. And you can't be doing that if you're too caught up in worrying about food in your body. Because I'm a big believer in, this is why I call myself the empowerment coach, because I'm a big believer in that we need to see more women in different leadership roles, however that looks, in different sectors, in different communities. Like it doesn't need to be like just in business. I'm talking about just everywhere. Like step up. And I know that you can do it, but you need to get rid of this food noise, and you need to get rid of this fucking diet culture noise that's keep holding you back from your full potential. So here's why I work the way I do. You can't just diet your way out for poor relationship food. Dieting is the problem. Dieting is what is causing the food noise. So when my clients stop feeling like they're on a diet, when they genuinely believe they can eat, what they want without rules, when they finally work on their body relationship, the food noise doesn't just get quieter, it changes, it transforms. They go from doing mental maths in a restaurant to actually tasting the food, enjoying it, being in the moment. Like they go from being absent with the people that they love to being present, and which strengthens relationships and that connection. They go from that binge-restrict cycle to just eating. That food doesn't have this morality hold over them anymore. And that's the real shift. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about GLP-1s right now and appetite suppression and that quieting the food noise. And I'm actually going to record an episode soon with a GLP-1 coach where we're going to dive into all the nuances, like the research, the ethics, what it actually does, what it doesn't do. So I'm going to dive into that deep. I'm not going to dive that in. I can't speak. I'm not going to dive too much into that today because I'm going to have a whole conversation on that together. But here's what I will say, the medication can suppress the appetite, it can make the food noise quieter, but it won't fix your relationship with food and it won't fix your relationship with your body. You still need to do that work, and you still need to work on your habits. You need to make sure you're eating whole foods, getting enough protein in, and most of all, you 100% need to be making sure that you're doing some form of resistance training. Okay, that is all the advice out there. So I'm just going to touch on that. So if you're in GLP-1s at the moment, or you're thinking about it, or even if you're curious about it, you should still be working on your food relationship. Because if you do come off of them, it's just going to bring it all back. So take advantage of it. If you are on them, make sure that you are doing what you can to work on those relationships, because that's going to make the difference. Okay, that's going to help with your longevity and sustainability with your health and fitness journey. So we should be working on that. That's what I was going to say. That's what's going to make this a long-lasting change. Okay, so what I've talked about today, this is what I do with my clients in Empower. This is the one-to-one coaching work, okay? We work on the mindset piece, the beliefs that you've been fed about food in your body and what's allowed. We work on the eating piece, actually rebuilding your relationship with food from the ground up, from the inside out, if that makes sense. We work on the body, the movement piece, regulating your central nervous system, emotional regulation, trusting your body, and being able to move in your way that feels good instead of punishing it. And that's where usually actually people come to me and their relationship with exercise isn't in a good place, or they hate exercise. So it's working through that as well, and those beliefs, the beliefs that you've been holding you back, the limiting beliefs as I call them. So we need to work on your whole belief system and step into this new identity that I know you can be. It's not quick, it does take time, but it does work, because we're addressing the actual problem and not just the symptom. So here's what I want you to take from this. Food noise is not your fault, and it's not because you're obsessed with food or that you're broken or got no willpower, motivation or discipline. It's because you've been living in a system that profits from your anxiety about food and your body. Diet culture makes the noise loud, but you can quieten it down. You can rebuild your relationship with food. You can come back to your body. You can be present again and be more you in those relationships around you. It takes time, it takes work, but it is possible. And I've seen it time and time again with my clients, and I've lived it myself. So if you want to do this work, if you want to quiet the food noise and actually reclaim your freedom around food and your body, that's what Empower is for. It's my one-to-one coaching, 3 months minimum, and I'll put the link in the show notes. And if you're not ready for that yet, if you want some resources and a community where you can think about it, I've got my Facebook community, my Facebook membership. Diet culture can fork off. It's called The Savers the Podcast. It's a paid membership. It's only £2.79 a month, so it's nothing really. And that's just the resources. That's just the resources. I go in there for like Q&A every week as well. Like anything to help you start you unpacking this stuff. So don't have to live with the food noise. Don't have to live with the food noise. And you don't have to keep doing the binge restrict cycle. You don't have to be absent from your own life because you're trapped in the food thoughts. There is another way, and I'm here to help you find it.